that something else turned out to be option 1 and option 2, which we were going to address on Wednesday morning, which was the next morning. During that meeting, Wednesday morning, after reading over the both options, I read a statement and indicated that I would not support anything beyond his contract. I had to leave to go to a doctor's appointment. But before I left, there was a lot of discussion about trying to find a way to carry Mr. Stewart through April. The conversation came up about Barry Edwards, and I know that the clerk of courts was involved in trying to find information, and that was, I never could understand why all of this was so important. And then after all of this other stuff came out, it was noted that I craft something. And after the public outcry, I, a part of the three, reneged on it and then turned around and crafted something else.
Marie, I've never assumed that you crafted that.
Well, I'm going by what the newspaper said and what was in the newspaper, so I don't know. That's why it should come here to be discussed rather than in the newspaper. And this is the way, and this is one of the reasons why I want, I respect every commissioner that's sitting up here. And I expect you to respect me. I would never go to the newspaper to discuss one of my colleagues, no matter what the situation is. If I need to talk with that person, if it's a private matter, I would find another way to do it.
Really?
But
how would you do that on an issue like this? I'd like to know.
I would find a way if there was something. And the thing that concerns me is the fact that you said that you would have followed whatever the state law requires. And I know that option 2 was the one that we would have had to amend the contract in order to do it. Now, how can you follow a state statute when you were willing to amend the contract?
Perhaps you need to sit down with the county attorney and have her explain to you what the rules are for firing a county administrator and what the process is. I shouldn't have to explain it to you in this forum. And it really boils down to one thing. Either you communicated in some fashion to Janet that you supported George leaving, or she's lying. I mean, you can throw her under the bus.
Did I support his leaving? I made the motion that we would accept option 1.
Janet told me before the meeting that there were 3 commissioners who wanted to see George leave. So
I'll admit I went through and asked her to go talk to him about resigning. I'll admit that. That was the
I'm not asking anyone to admit anything. It's simple. It's there. It is what it is. The problem here is you didn't follow the process.
Can I speak?
Sure.
On this, and part of this is the miscommunication that happens in us not being able to talk in the sunshine of what happens. On Wednesday night, I did receive a call, Wednesday, September 5th. I did receive a call from George that evening. He was talking about something, and he asked me, he said, are you aware of a resignation, agreement that's coming forward? And I said, no. He never asked me anything else about it. Subsequent, the reason this will all tie in as we move forward. Tuesday, September 6th, we have agenda review. Thursday, September 6th, we have agenda review. After that agenda review, I went up and talked to George about, because he had asked me, what I thought. I talked to him briefly. I went to the chamber board, had their annual luncheon that day at 12 o'clock. I talked to some people. As I talked there, very much the same light came out that many people, I just kind of asked some opinions. What sort of came out was, hey, George has lost the ability to do this effectively. So when I came back, I was talking to him about resignation. At that time, there was some different things we were talking about. Him actually not leaving the county, but resigning, staying on in his position until a new county administrator came in. At that point, Janet was called in, and Janet came into the office, and we were talking about it. At that point, there was an agreement that had been produced. George had it. That was the first time I'd ever seen the agreement. When Janet came in to talk about it, the question came up as to how did this get pulled together. Janet indicated, and from my standpoint, it said she had talked to 3 people. Now, what I didn't realize is she was talking about the simple fact of resignation. I thought she was talking about the specific document that was produced. Until yesterday, that is the way I continued to my understanding. I got a call from, I guess we'll skip forward to now. Earlier, I guess it was right after I was coming back on the road from being out of town here, and I got a call because somehow this had already leaked through the news. I mean, not the news journal, but WEAR had already run the story about Mike Patterson's letter and then Janet's letter back, and Mike's letter referencing this agreement that was sent in before the September 6th meeting. I was got called by Michael Stewart. Now, again, I'm not looking to run to the press to do anything with it one way or another. But at some point, and my feeling is when the press calls, in our position as public office, we are required to do something. I mean, I was on an operating table, and I got left in the headlines of a front page article saying, that somehow I'd run off to go home or something because I didn't answer. So, I've learned my lesson about not returning the news journal's call. I'm going to answer it honestly. And they asked me the question: are you aware? Michael asked me the question: are you aware of an agreement that was produced beforehand? I saw it September 6th, that afternoon, in the meeting when Janet was there. I said, yes. I said, I know there was something that was being drafted. I did not realize that this was just simply being drafted and what was going forward. So then I was asked, was I aware of anything in it? I said, I was not one of the ones that did it. Janet told me there were 3 commissioners that were involved that she had talked to, and that I was not one of them. Now, fast forward then to yesterday, after the article comes out in the paper yesterday. I tried to get in the morning, the afternoon. Finally, late afternoon, you and I had the chance to finally talk. And I said, Janet, I said, I'm confused because I'm a little upset. This gets back to a comment that was made the other day at, I believe, by Commissioner Valentino about what happens when there's a feeling that some commissioners get stuff told to them and other ones do not. And I think you had made the comment that all 5 of us need to know everything. And I said, Janet, when you and I were in George's office and you came in and you said that 3 people were aware of it, I was very upset. I wondered why I did not get told about this in the beginning. Janet said, and I won't speak for you, I'll let you say what you told me yesterday.
What I told you was that the night before, when I broached the subject with George about the agreement, he said that he would contact you and Commissioner Whitehead, and I would contact Commissioner Young and Commissioner Valentino because Commissioner White already knew that the resignation discussions had begun. And when I spoke with George later that evening, he told me that he had contacted both Commissioner Robinson and Commissioner Whitehead, and that Commissioner Robinson was fine with it, with the idea of creating a favorable severance package. No details were available at that time for me to give to any of you, but the idea was, rather than terminating him, to come up with a favorable severance package so that he would be able to resign and move on, and then the board could move on and get things back to normal for the county. He told me that you had no problem with it, and that Commissioner Whitehead said to him that if 3 other commissioners voted for it, he would vote for it. And so in my mind at that time, there was unanimity among the board members conceptually for me to come up with a severance package to bring back to the board for it to vote on. Obviously,
Now,
okay.
Now, when you